High performers are often the last people anyone worries about. They look capable, busy, and in control. They're still working, still training, still parenting, still leading, still producing. And that is exactly why the early warning signs are easy to miss. Because the first sign isn't usually collapse, it is cost. The work is still getting done, the standards are still being met. People still see them as capable. But recovery starts taking longer, sleep feels less restorative, small disruptions hit harder. The body stays more braced and tense, and the same level of output starts asking more from the system. That is what this video is about. What actually makes high performance sustainable? Not for a season, not for one big event, not for one impressive chapter of life, but for decades. For a life that still has something left in reserve. Think about someone like LeBron James. The interesting thing about LeBron is not only that he's reached an extraordinary level in professional sports. Plenty of athletes perform at a high level for a short window, but what is remarkable that after more than 2 decades, he's still investing enormous effort into protecting the system that produces the output. Training matters, but so does recovery. Sleep matters, but so does load management and body care and nutrition and decision-making across seasons. Now, LeBron is clearly an outlier. The lesson is not that normal people like you and I should copy his routine necessarily, but the lesson is much, much simpler. If the output matters, the system around the output matters too. And you don't need to be an elite athlete for that to apply. Your basketball arena might be a clinic, it might be a business or a boardroom, it could be a family, a creative project, a stage, or a leadership role where people keep needing something from you. The environment changes, but the principle doesn't. The real question is, what happens after the work is done? Can your system recover? Can it adapt? Can it downshift when the demand passes? And can it stay capable across time? This is where high performance becomes more interesting. Most people judge performance by output. Can I still get the work done? Can I still lead? Can I still train? Can I still support the people who depend on me? And when the answer is yes, they assume that they're coping. Well, that makes sense, right? The work is still happening. The standards are still being met. People still see you as reliable, but performance does not always tell the full story. You can still produce excellent work while becoming less steady underneath. You can still be successful while your recovery deteriorates. You can still look strong while your margin shrinks. That distinction sits at the center of Pressure Proof. Performance asks, can I still do it? But stability asks, what is it costing me? For people living high-load lives, that second question matters because output can hide problems for a surprisingly long time. When being capable becomes part of your identity, the cost can become easy to ignore. You push through, you adapt, you get it done, you find another gear. And for short periods, that can be really useful. Sometimes it's absolutely necessary. But if pushing through becomes your whole strategy, the system underneath eventually starts to pay for it. That is the first major reframe. The goal is not to peak once, the goal is to stay capable. Most capable people can produce a short burst of impressive output. They can focus, push, sacrifice, find another gear. That is rarely the difficult part. The harder skill is staying capable across years through heavy workloads, family responsibility, business uncertainty, training blocks, travel, pressure, life. That's where durability shows up. And the early warning sign isn't usually collapse, it's cost. You can still function, you can still perform, but there's less margin. And margin is one of the most important concepts that most people never think about. Margin is the space between what life asks from you and what your system can currently absorb. When margin is wide, pressure still exists, life can still be demanding, but the demand doesn't take as much from you. You can work hard and recover. You can train and you can adapt, and you can have a difficult day and come back to baseline. But when margin narrows, the same workload feels heavier. The same interruption feels bigger. The same responsibility follows you into the evening. The same training session just takes longer to recover from. And clinically, that is useful information. It says something about the relationship between load and recovery. One useful idea from sports science is that load and recovery sit at the center of adaptation. Load isn't the enemy. Training is load. Leadership is load. Parenting is load. Focused work is load, and responsibility is load. But pressure like that often helps us grow. Many people need meaningful pressure to become stronger, sharper, and more capable. The issue starts when pressure keeps taking more than recovery can restore. When that happens, something subtle begins to shift. You may still perform, you may still look disciplined, you may still get things done, but the after effects start to change. Sleep becomes less restorative. Your patience gets thinner. The body stays switched on instead of relaxing. Healthy habits become harder to protect, and energy becomes less predictable. A 2016 International Olympic Committee consensus statement on load in sport described the importance of managing training and competition load while also monitoring well-being and injury risk. Well, that idea applies beyond just sport. Don't only ask whether the output happened, but pay attention to what happens afterwards. Did you recover? Did your sleep restore you? Did your mood return to baseline? Did your body downshift? And did your normal, healthy habits hold? Did you still have something left for the people who matter in your life? And that is where a lot of capable people miss the signal. Still functioning, still producing, still useful, so nobody looks too closely at the cost. Because pushing through has worked for years. Until one day, the same output takes more from them than it used to. This is where the pressure-proof performance engine becomes useful. Capacity is how much you have available. Load is what life is asking from you. And recovery is whether you can restore what pressure consumes. That is the engine. Capacity, load, recovery. And when those three work well together, performance has more margin and pressure costs less. Adaptation happens more easily. But when they stop matching, output might continue, but the cost rises. That's why two people can have similar workloads and completely different experiences. One person finishes the week tired and then restores. Another finishes wired, flat, tense, or reactive. From the outside, both may look productive, but internally they're not experiencing the same thing. That is why performance alone can mislead you. Output doesn't prove capacity. A full calendar doesn't prove stability. Being needed doesn't prove that your system is coping. Pushing through can be useful for short windows. We all need to do that sometimes. But it becomes a problem when it turns into the whole strategy. So what makes high performance truly sustainable? Firstly, you need a system that can adapt under load. Secondly, you need a system that can restore what pressure consumes. And thirdly, you need a system that protects margin, so you still have something left after the work is done. And that's the first pressure-proof idea. Performance isn't stability. The goal isn't to peak one time. The goal is to stay capable, to stay truly pressure-proof. So here is the reflection question for this week. Where are you still performing but paying for it later? Don't use that question to criticize yourself. Use it as information, feedback. Because once you can see where the cost is showing up, you have a better place to begin.